This video was filmed on the 3rd of August this year, 2023, and it was part of my birthday day out. Did I mention it was my birthday? I was actually 66. I might have mentioned it, perhaps not. Anyway, we decided to go down to Liverpool waterfront and take our granddaughter on the Mersey Ferry tour. So this isn't the commute from one side to the other. This is the tour, which is a circular route from the Jerry Marsden ferry terminal at Liverpool, across to Seacombe and then back again. And the whole trip, if you fancy doing it, takes 50 minutes. And by the time people have got off and new people have got on, each ferry leaves on the hour. Right, so without further ado, this is Ferry Across the Mersey 2023. Okay, so we've paid our little fee and we are on our way to board the Mersey Ferry. Now there are two ferries which are in service across the River Mersey. One is the Royal Iris, which is the one that we are going to take the trip on, and the other one is called Dazzle. So the Royal Iris of the Mersey has a traditional white, black and red livery, and from its launch in Devon in 1959 until it had a major refurbishment in 2001, she was actually named Mountwood. Following the major upgrade, she was renamed Royal Iris of the Mersey on her return to service in April 2002. The other ferry is called Snowdrop. In January 2015, the ferry was selected as a Dazzle ship. She was given a unique new livery inspired by the First World War Dazzle camouflage. It was designed by Sir Peter Blake and entitled Everybody Razzle Dazzle. Now, if you're wondering who Sir Peter Blake is, if you're a Beatles fan, you'll know that Sir Peter Blake is most famous for the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper album cover. So our trip today is on the more traditionally painted Royal Iris of the Mersey. On the right hand side is Liverpool waterfront, that's where we've just left from, and in 2004 it was inscribed on the World Heritage List. So it was a UNESCO World Heritage Site from 2004. But over the years there was some new development going on. You can see some of it here. And Liverpool had a few warnings about building on a World Heritage Site, but it continued because basically we're a live city and things need to change. So in 2021 we lost the UNESCO World Heritage Site Award by the World Heritage Convention. I'll just read what they said. The World Heritage Committee, holding its 44th session in Fuzzhow, wherever that is, and also online, we know where that is, decided to delete the property Liverpool Maritime Mercantile City, United Kingdom, from the World Heritage List due to the irreversible loss of attributes conveying the outstanding universal value of the property. So you can see that UNESCO weren't very pleased, but they also class us as one of their properties, which I don't really think we are. But basically it boiled down to the historic docks which were being built on, and still are. Everton are building their new football stadium on one of the old docks, and I think personally it's a good thing, because if you'd seen the docks before, which I have, and I've got photographs of them from back in the day right through to present day, they were derelict, and visitors coming into the city, it's what they see, it's not very good. So I think it's quite a good thing that these docks are now being brought back from dereliction. You may think different, I don't know. If you do, leave a comment, but UNESCO World Heritage status doesn't really matter, I don't think. People never came here because it was a World Heritage site. People come here for the Beatles. No, probably that's not quite true. People come here to see Liverpool's architecture, they come here to see the two cathedrals, but they also have an interest in seeing where the Beatles began, the venues they played, and especially Matthew Street. Now, on the right hand side, these are the historic docks that UNESCO was so worried about, and they are being built on. There's different schemes going on along the dock area, and in the distance there you can see Everton's new football stadium. Now that's being built on Bramley Moor Dock, and the very large low building you can see there is the tobacco warehouse. Now the ferry does a circular route to the Wirral side, and it starts to turn soon, so I'll see if I can zoom in and get a slightly better view of Everton's new stadium, and the Victoria clock as well, which is in front of it, which is sometimes known as the Dockers clock. So there's the tobacco warehouse on the right, Everton's new stadium on the left, and that column in front of the stadium is the Victoria clock. And yeah, we're starting to move left now, and we're heading off to Seacombe on the Wirral side of the river. Now I'm not sure on this, but I think if you take this trip and you want to spend some time on the Wirral side, you can get off at Seacombe and wait for the next ferry, or the next one after that if there is one, and work your way back to Liverpool that way. Don't quote me on that, but we do stop at the Seacombe ferry terminal, and people do get on. So I think if you've got a day ticket, you could get back on and get back to Liverpool, do a bit of exploring on the Wirral side of the River Mersey. Now if you do get off at Seacombe, it's not too far from New Brighton. You can actually walk, it's a couple of miles, but it's a nice walk on a nice day. And you also take in Wallasey Town Hall, which is quite a very nice historic building, well worth looking at if you're on that side. And you could spend an hour or so in New Brighton, which is just down there on the end, and work your way back. Make sure you know the times of the last ferry though, otherwise you'll end up getting a train. There have been ferries on the River Mersey since 1150 AD, and the crossing from Birkenhead to Liverpool has been a royal highway since 1330. All the time that you are on the ferry, there is an audio track playing, giving you the history of the ferries and the history of Liverpool's Dockland area, and also the history of the Birkenhead side and Wallasey side of the river. I've actually stripped that off because I thought it might be copyright, and it wouldn't have sounded right anyway, because I've not videoed the whole trip. I've not videoed the whole 50 minutes of this journey, so their audio track would have been broken up and would have sounded odd. But if you do come on the trip, it's playing all the way through, and you do get an idea of the history of this area. When I was a kid, and our family used to go to New Brighton during the summer, sometimes we used to get the ferry, come across and work our way up to New Brighton. And other times we used to get the underground railway, and it was an adventure back then. It was like another world. I actually said to my dad once, do you know, it's amazing, they've got the same car registrations that we have. And he just laughed at me because we're like a mile away from Liverpool. But for me as a kid, it was like a totally different place. I used to really love New Brighton back then, and to be honest, I still do. Me and my wife come quite regular, and in the evening during the summer, only because it's warmer, but the sunsets were amazing across the Mersey out into the Irish Sea. They're exactly the same in the winter, I guess, but earlier and colder. Now, Beatles fans amongst you will know that the Beatles played a few gigs on the Mersey Ferries. On the 25th of August 1961, they played the Caverns Riverboat Shuffle Cruise on the Royal Iris. Now, that's not this Royal Iris, it's the original Royal Iris, because at this time, this particular ferry would have been called the Mountford. But they played on the Royal Iris, also known as the Fish and Chip boat apparently, thanks to a popular and fashionable on-board fish and chip saloon. The band, who hadn't quite reached the height of their fame at the time of the shuffle gigs, twice played support to popular clarinetist Aka Bilk. On the next show, the third show on the ferries, was August 1962, and they supported Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, who were top billing, and the Beatles were again second on the bill. A Manchester instrumental band, Pete McLean and the Dakotas, were also on the bill. I guess they were underneath the Beatles. For their final show, which was September 1962, the Beatles were finally a headline act, supported by Lee Castle and the Barons. For this final show on the ferry, the Fab Four were also joined by drummer Ringo Starr, who had officially joined the band in the summer of 1962, replacing Pete Best. And we're now at the Seacombe Ferry Terminal. Right, so we're now going to do our return journey and head back to Liverpool. So let's just have a chat about the ferries in general. As I said earlier, the ferry which we are actually on now is called the Royal Iris of the Mersey. But previously this ferry was called the Mountwood. So this ferry was launched in Devon in 1959, and it had a major refurbishment in 2001 when she changed names from the Mountwood to its present name, the Royal Iris of the Mersey. So it actually returned to service in April 2002. So while this ferry was in service as the Mountwood, there was actually a Royal Iris of the Mersey operating at the same time. So what happened to that ferry? During the early 1990s, funding was found to allow 3 of the ferries to be refurbished: the Mountwood, the Woodchurch and the Overchurch. The aging Royal Iris was considered surplus to requirements. After a survey, it was found that it would cost too much money to bring it up to modern standards, and over the passing years the boat had become noticeably slower and more expensive to maintain. The Royal Iris ran its farewell evening cruise on the 12th of January 1991, prior to being taken out of service and laid up awaiting confirmation of its fate. In November 1991, it was sold to a consortium for conversion into a floating nightclub, restaurant and conference centre based in Liverpool under the name of Mr. Smith's Nightclub. It was delivered to the Stanley Dock complex in the early months of 1992 to begin a new life on the Mersey, and was subsequently painted bright blue with a red band around the top deck windows. Obviously, this actually didn't happen, because on Saturday the 7th of August 1993, the Royal Iris had been sold to a Hertfordshire-based Parkway Leisure, who had the intention of turning it into a floating night spot in Cardiff. They were going to spend £300,000 on the refurbishments, but plans for that also fell through. On Wednesday, the 10th of August 1993, the Royal Iris was removed from Stanley Dock. In a 2-hour operation, it broke free from the tow line and smashed into the dock wall twice. Royal Iris finally left the River Mersey for the last time under tow on the morning of Thursday, the 12th of August 1993, after being towed to the pierhead for a final goodbye. Cardiff County Council rejected the planning proposal for the use of the vessel, and the £300,000 work was never carried out. On Saturday the 6th of February 2010, it was reported that the police and the RNLI had been called out to the berth on the River Thames near Woolwich after a passing vessel had noticed it had taken on water up to the passenger deck. It was unclear how long it had been in this state. There was evidence found to suggest that squatters had been living on board. Also found on board were various items of drug paraphernalia. So again, from 2010, various plans have come and gone to bring the ferry back to Liverpool as either a nightclub or a restaurant. I can't see that happening. It's too far gone. Now, there have been many Mersey Ferries over the years, but in my lifetime I remember 4. The oldest one was launched in 1950, and that's the Royal Iris, which we've just discussed. The others are the Mountwood, the Woodchurch and the Overchurch. So let's look at the Mountwood. The Mountwood was launched in 1959 and in 2001 became the Royal Iris of the Mersey, and that's the ferry that we are currently travelling on. The Woodchurch was also launched in 1959, and in 2004 it became the Snowdrop, which is now the Dazzle ferry. The other one, the Overchurch, was launched in 1962, and that became the Royal Daffodil. That one was withdrawn from service in 2012. Okay, so we are nearly back at the ferry terminal on the Liverpool side. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch up soon.